Our topic is Purdue men's basketball. I'm Shayna Lane, and I'm a sophomore in data visualization.
I'm Lily Kempf, and I'm a junior in data visualization and BIM.
I'm Drew Selke, and I'm a sophomore in animation and visual effects.
And I'm Vaughn Valentino, and I'm a sophomore in animation and visual effects and web programming and design. To introduce our topic, we chose to analyze Purdue men's basketball team stats from the 2022 to 2023 season to help predict who will be the best player this current season. The questions we went out to answer were: who was the best player on the Purdue men's basketball team in the 2022 to 2023 season, and then how will this information help us predict the best player this year? For my visualization, I chose to look at total playtime versus total points from the 2022 to 2023 season. I chose Purdue's starting five lineup, and for the starting five lineup, as there are multiple players who will start different games, I chose the five players who started the most often, which ended up being Caleb Furst, Fletcher Loyer, Zach Edey, Ethan Morton, and Braden Smith. From this data, I created an area graph to show the ratio of total points to total time played, and from this graph, one can see that Zach Edey had the greatest amount of points to total time played. I also created a radar graph to better show this example. There's no numbers in this, as the numbers kind of obscured the graph, so it's purely just points and time played ratio, and as you can see, the ratio is greatest at Zach Edey, showing once again that he had the most points scored to time played.
For my visualization, I chose to compare the stats of the top players who were in their fourth year this year. Two of the players I chose were Zach Edey and Ethan Morton. First, Zach Edey, who since his first year has increased in points, rebounds, assists, and game time. Next, Ethan Morton, who also has only been increasing in points, rebounds, assists, and game time since his first year.
For this visualization, I compared four players' best game stats to their worst game stats in the 2022 to 2023 season. I chose three categories to look at: points, rebounds, and assists. The four players I chose are Zach Edey, Fletcher Loyer, and Braden Smith and Trey Kaufman-Renn, known as TKR. For the sake of time, I'm only showing Edey's stats for the video. From the analysis, Edey had the most improvement from his worst game to his best game in points and rebounds. This is not shown, but TKR and Smith had the most improvement in assists. This next chart shows all four players' best stats from the season. Once again, Edey overall has more points and rebounds, while the other players have much closer stats for all three categories.
For my portion of the project, I decided to compare the projected starting five for Purdue men's basketball to other players around the NCAA. For my first example, I compared Zach Edey to Oscar Tshiebwe because they had very similar seasons. So I found the percent difference in Oscar Tshiebwe's season and used that to predict Zach Edey's statistics for the 2023-2024 season. After doing that for all players, comparing them to all different players, you can see these visualizations, how their stats compared from last season to the prediction of this season. These are for scoring and rebounds, and these are for the assists.
To sum things up, after analyzing all of our data and the visualizations we created, we were able to conclude that Zach Edey will be the best player of the 2023 to 2024 season. All of our visualizations prove that Zach Edey excelled in almost all categories of the game. However, there are some variables that we had to account for, such as transfers and new players that will be freshmen this upcoming season. Their stats aren't very comparable because new players such as freshmen, they played in high school level, which those stats will be much different than college level of play, as well as transfers played at different schools where there'll be different coaches and opportunities available. So given the data we had access to, we were able to conclude that Zach Edey will be the best player of the 2023 to 2024 season.